Next item on our agenda is approval of our agenda. Is anyone willing to motion approval of the agenda or offer an amendment to the agenda?
I'd move to approve the agenda.
We've got a first by Nick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alex to approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
You gonna do a prayer?
Did I skip the prayer in there? I only have one contact in tonight, so.
Can do it with announcements and praise.
That's not till after this anyway.
Let's back up and have our pastor provide prayer for us tonight. But we do have the agenda approved.
Father, I thank you that we can pray anytime, Lord, before or after agendas. And just, Father, I thank you for the love that these folks have for your town, the town of Sturgis, and I just pray you bless them this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Brian. Item 4 is announcements and praise. Does anybody on council have announcements or praise? Jim, do you have a list today?
I don't have a list.
Yeah, Deb's on vacation.
Yes.
Well, if the community doesn't know it, we have a rally on its way.
The recycling will close next Monday.
Very good. So the recycling at exit 32 will close next Monday, the 28th of July. And Rick, when will it reopen?
It usually takes us a day or two after the rally. One of the reasons, or the reasons why we do close that down is, number one, that specific site turns into a landing pad, landing zone for the Life Flight, and those dumpsters get used in other places during the rally. So, but usually within a few days, we'll have it
Sometime after, the week after the rally, we'll get that reopened. Any announcements or praise from the council? How about from members of the public? All right, hearing none, we'll continue on to item 5, non-agenda matters that may come before the council. This is the time where an item that is not on the agenda can be discussed. Does any council members have a non-agenda item they want to bring up? How about members of the public?
Hello, Brandon Snyder. I've talked to some of you before. I wrote this down because it's easier to remember everything. So as a resident of Sturgis, a parent, and someone who truly cares about this community, I've lived in South Dakota most of my life. And I've always believed in the value of honesty, service, and looking out for the future, especially when it comes to our kids in our town. That's why I feel the need to speak up. Right now, things in Sturgis don't feel right. We've had numerous resignations from city employees, council members, and even a mayor. There have been lawsuits, budget cuts, and growing distrust. Some time ago, the city made the decision to turn down the Meade School District offer to purchase a portion of the fairgrounds. That land would have been used to build a new school, something I believe would have been a major benefit to our students, teachers, and families. Instead, the city chose to keep the land available for additional motorcycle racing events by AFT. I'll be honest, that's still a hard decision for me to understand. I wonder about possible personal or financial ties between some city leaders and groups like AFT or the Jack Pine Gypsies. I'm not making accusations, but as someone who wants to trust our local government, I think it would help if officials would speak publicly and clearly about any connections they do or don't have with these groups. Hearing it directly from each of you would go a long way. I also wonder about the city's legal expenses. If we're regularly using outside legal firms, why are we still paying for a city attorney? Either we rely on outside counsel and save that money, or we use the city attorney for what he is hired to do, including represent the city of Sturgis in lawsuits. I think residents deserve to understand how that decision is being made and whether any prior relationships factored into the attorney's role. I'm not trying to stir up drama, I'm just someone who deeply cares about this town and wants to see it thrive. When Sturgis is in the news for negative reasons, it's frustrating. It reflects on all of us, and it affects how people see our town. Asking for transparency, accountability, and a commitment to making the decisions that serve the long-term good of this community, not just certain groups or events. Sturgis is where I live. It's where I raise my children. I want it to be a place we can all be proud of, and that starts with trust and honesty. Thank you for taking the time to hear me out, and I look forward to your answers.
Thank you, Brandon. Anything to discuss at this point on Brandon's,
I guess I would just clear up you had questions on the attorney. We pay our attorney the hours that he works. So if he were to represent us in a litigation of some sort, let's say, those, 200 hours, let's just say it was, we would pay him those 200 hours. If he does not represent us in that case, we do not pay him those 200 hours. Does that?
Yeah, is there a base fee or
No, we just pay him,
what he works?
correct.
far as relationships and conflicts? I mean, I can start a first piece on that. Weekend of social media made accusations of me having comp tickets to a Supercross race. That's an absolute lie. I have no relationship other than our business interests with anybody from the AFT here. In fact, the race that I was at was a family trip. I spent over $1,300 just for the tickets, the airfare, the car, the hotel, and I had a family trip with my family, and I was asked to attend a meeting while I was at that. In fact, I've got a text from my wife saying, tell those guys that you're here with your family, and if they're reasonable, they'll stop talking right now. So there certainly was no peace that had any for me, and I've got no involvement with any peace. Back in until about 2000, I was a member of the Jack Pine Gypsies. Since 2000, which would be 25 years ago, had no involvement. Anyone else?
Well, Mr. Mayor, the only thing I would say, and Brandon, I tell you this, people in my ward that have called and asked about that question, I ran because I felt like somebody needed to provide transparency, and I didn't think there was any when I was here a year ago. When I sat out where you were sitting, I was upset about the way things were going. I ran promising transparency, and I can tell you with the meetings that I've attended and the people that I'm here, I think that I would say that we have absolute transparency. I mean, there are things obviously that may have individual issues, but I think it would be unfair to say that there are things happening that aren't transparent. We work really hard at that with everything that we do, and I can tell you that the mayor answers when I call, and if somebody's asked a question, he answers when I call and gives me the answer. And so I appreciate what you say, but I would like to, I hope that you have a positive feeling about Sturgis. I think things have changed dramatically since I got on the council, and I really feel like the people that I'm serving with have the very same feelings. I could speak for myself. I was tired of things happening and not knowing anything about it till I read it in the paper, and that's not the case, at least as much as I can possibly help it. So I would say that there's much for you to be proud of with this town, and I want to make, if you're not, then hopefully we'll get answers for that later. But I can tell you that for somebody who came on the council thinking, by golly, we're going to change that, I believe we have made remarkable change, especially since October, and it has worked well. From a budget standpoint, I think that I can't speak for city employees. I know there was a point when there was a lot of people resigning, but I don't think that's really happened in the last 6 months. But I would tell you that you have reason to be proud of Sturgis. We have made remarkable change. Somebody came in tonight and said it's so nice to see Sturgis in the paper positively. I think that might have been Tony.
Yep, on the ambulance.
With the ambulance. And so we have made changes to put people in positions of authority, responsibility, and they're taking that, reporting back. I'm very pleased. And so I would just tell you, if that's not the way you see it, we'll let us try to figure out how to make you feel comfortable. But I believe that we're doing the things that I wanted the city to do, and I'm pleased at that.
I would like to add to that. I would encourage you to start coming to some council meetings. I think things have really changed the last 6 months also. I mean, I see us heading in the right direction. I see transparency. But I would encourage you, if you, I mean, there's committees you can maybe get on if you want to be a part. I'm sure we would sign you up for something. So we like the input from, our community. So I would encourage you to come to some more meetings, and then if you want to get involved in some committees, let somebody know. We'll see what we can do.
And Brandon, I don't know if you're looking for me to provide clarity again on my relationship with AMA Pro Racing, but I'm happy to do it again. I have before, and I was going to again later tonight. My marketing business, I have a marketing and communications business that has a contract with AMA Pro Racing for communications and marketing services, social media. And as far as anything that has ever come before council for AFT or anything, since I took on that contract, my business took on that contract, I have abstained from voting and discussion, and whenever it has come up in exec, I've excused myself from the room, which everyone else here knows on council and can attest to. So transparency also when I ran was something that was really important, I always talked about, and will continue to be happy to explain to anyone who asks about my relationship with AFT, AMA Pro Racing, or anything in the future at any time.
Thank you, everyone. Anything else in non-agenda matters that from the public? All right, continuing on. Item 6.1 is our June 25 sales tax report.
Can you get that on the?
Well, good evening, council and mayor, Aaron, city administrator. Looking at, our sales tax here for the last 6 months, we started off pretty good. The first 2 months of the year, it was the best 2 months that we've ever had. And March was a downturn. We kind of rebounded back in April, but the last 2 months, May and June, we've continued to not perform. As of June, we are about 19% lower than we were last year at this time, and we're about 2.5% lower than we were for the total of the year. Last year, we were just over $1 million of sales tax, and this year we're at $975,000. Looking at the Triple B, this one has been a little bit more of a worrisome trend. Even though we were kind of above average, we started off pretty good in January, but starting in February, we started to be, a bit going lower, and the last couple months, just like the sales tax, we're much lower than we were this time last year. If you look at May, we were at 24,000. Last year, we were at 36,000. This year, we're just under 35,000, and last year, we're about 43.5. So it's from June of last year to June of this year, we're 20% lower, and for the whole year, we're about 13.5% lower for 2025. So those are the trends at this point. As we can all see living here in town, we've got a lot of traffic, and people coming into Sturgis. I know we had some markets, and I was talking to some of the business owners, and they were still seem to have some good sales going on, and maybe it's just my Viking fan and me being optimistic. But, we are kind of trending not good, but hopefully we can get things turned around going into the rest of the summer. Pending your questions.
Aaron, compared to state, how are we doing? Or is the state kind of in the same ballpark we're in?
I haven't seen the state numbers. Looking at last month, we were a little bit lower, more so than they were from the state perspective, Tony. And they were just like maybe 1% above, actually. But I haven't seen the results yet for June for the state of South Dakota. Once I get that, I'll send you guys out a report on that.
Thank you, Aaron. Certainly concerning if we're seeing some reduction. I mean, sales tax is a large portion of our means of finance, funding our general fund budget. Any questions on the sales tax report? Further? Continuing on, item 6.2 is city attorney report. Mr. Davis.
Well, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. I've had a busy weekend working on my own professional and personal obligations, and when I finally was able to get my head above water today, I see that the resolution I drafted, Resolution 2025-32, that's on the agenda later this evening, created a bit of a stir, and that there's some people here that want to talk about that, probably including some council members. So we'll certainly do that when the time comes. In the meantime, I told you at the last meeting that I wanted to give you kind of a report and assessment of what I've been working on. For about the last 6 months, I came on board about the same time as Aaron Jordan did, about the same time as many of you did. And as was mentioned many times previously and already once this meeting, I came on board as city attorney in a contract. I have a law practice of my own here in town with a significant number of clients and obligations, and I took the city of Sturgis on as one of those clients. I'm still continuing to do other work on other matters completely unrelated, and told you that I would give you the time and energy that I was able to do to help with this process of providing the mayor and the city council and the city administrator some legal counsel and guidance as we work through both triaging some major issues and projects, as well as dealing with the consequences in the recent change in form of government, which I was happy to do, and thank you for engaging with me. Just an update on what I've been doing for about the last 6 months. I know that you all know that I'm a Sturgis resident. I have been for a while. I've been a casual and outside observer, an occasional participant in some of the affairs at Sturgis City Hall for some time, and also, in a lot of ways, I didn't know what I was going to be walking into when I began this engagement. Probably much like a lot of you didn't know what you were going to be walking into when you ran for and were elected into office. I'm not an insider at City Hall. I wasn't exceedingly involved. I certainly wasn't involved in any capacity behind the scenes. So I've been getting to know you all. I've been getting to know staff members. I've been getting to know, to the best of my ability, a history of where the city's been at, what some of the major projects are that are coming up, and some of the issues that need immediate attention. And, this is just my opinion. You can take it for whatever it's worth, but I've been working pretty closely on some of these projects. I've worked most closely with Kevin and Aaron. They're the ones who are managing the executive side of things and the ones that are tasked with triaging some of the issues that come up. Pretty much, I think, almost all of my interactions with any of you, either as a group or individually, have been at council meetings, in official council meetings, and in executive sessions. And that's just the way that it's working, at least for now, and the way that I think it's supposed to work. And again, going to the issue of transparency, we're discussing these issues in open session and putting the decisions where they belong, which is with the city council. Again, the reality of the situation, as far as my initial assessment, is the long-term vacancy in the office of city manager created some problems with just the general day-to-day operations and management of the staff. One of the best things that could have been done, in my view, is engaging Aaron Jordan as city administrator. I've told you that before, and about 3 months in, and my assessment about 6 months in is the same. As far as keeping the essential municipal government services, there are a lot of things that this municipality does that aren't related to the rally, that aren't related to other things, that are just focused on municipal public health, safety, welfare, water, garbage, streets, plows, police, ambulance. These are all critical essential services. The mayor, under the strong mayor / aldermanic form of government without a city manager, is the chief executive officer. The mayor engaged Mr. Jordan to be the chief administrator as the city administrator, taking direction from him. In my view, that was an excellent decision, and one that, going to some of the council members' points, that I believe the future of Sturgis looks bright, that we're off on the right foot. There were, about the time you all were coming in and about the time that I was coming in, a significant number of vacancies created in key, long-time staff positions. I know that one of the major tasks Aaron has been focused on is restaffing those positions, getting an assessment of what's happening, and bringing management back to City Hall. And again, I think Aaron is the right person for this job. His leadership, his experience, his management experience are very well suited to where Sturgis is now. And I didn't really know Aaron well before. I've gotten to know him a little bit better now, and I have faith in his administrative abilities and the work that he's doing. I also didn't know Kevin Forrester very well before this. We were acquainted, usually mostly with city stuff. I think Kevin's doing an excellent job as mayor. I think he has good vision. I think he has good leadership. I think the best example of that is his ability to coax Aaron out of what I imagine was a pretty cushy retirement from public service and engage him in public service again at a time when his community really needed him. Not only did he have extensive leadership and management experience with the National Guard, but he's a Sturgis resident and he had a history on the Sturgis City Council, which is certainly serving him well now as he's trying to navigate some of these big issues. So I have been working pretty closely with Kevin and Aaron, and also I do not report to them. I am an independent contractor. I am not an employee. I do not fall under the executive branch. I report to you all. I represent the entity of the city of Sturgis, and I report to the city council. I take direction from the city council, and I serve at the pleasure of the city council, and I'm happy to do so for as long as you want me. Certainly, the matters that have consumed the vast majority of my attention since I've been on board, and I told you before, about 3 months in, I've been working probably an average on city stuff for maybe 8 to 10 hours a week. That's about all that I can manage at juncture. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little less, but as I indicated, I have other obligations that are not associated with the city. Two of the issues I was brought in to work significantly on and to help staff triage were the AFT issue and the Kenny Price issue. Both those items are on the agenda tonight. Both of those agenda items are the product of a significant amount of work and analysis on my part. I'll be happy to discuss those with you in significant detail as we get to those agenda items. I'll give you my rationale, I'll give you my explanations, I'll give you my recommendation on what I think is the best way to move forward at this time. In the meantime, again, going back to just a little bit of an initial assessment of the state of the city government, as I mentioned, I do think Sturgis has a lot of really great things going for it right now. I do think there have been significant changes in the past 6 months, led mostly by the leadership of the mayor and this city council and the direction that they've provided. My goal, I come to you as a humble public servant with my palms face up and my hat in my hands. Maybe mixing those metaphors there. I don't know if I can do both those things at the same time. I'm here trying to do my best to assist you, to provide you the best legal advice and counsel that I can to help the government through this significant transition period. I told you when you engaged with me that one of my highest values was transparency, that I was going to bring that to this office. I was also going to attempt to bring back a separation of powers between the executive branch and the legislative branch that, in my assessment, has been lost in recent past, and we've been working to do that. And the way that I've approached this job and my approach to you all has certainly been with that in mind. I already mentioned it, but I think is worth saying again, the change in form of government that we experienced was a significant pivot point in this community. We have an entire municipal code that is written on, based around, revolving around a city manager form of government with a strong city manager with certain statutory powers. That no longer exists anymore. One of the greatest things that could have been done, I don't know exactly who initiated it. It was before my time. I think it was Kevin and Aaron, was the beginning of a work on a recodification. Consistent with that change in form of government, the council engaged with an entity called American Legal Services to help provide with that codification. We've thus far, American Legal has delivered a copy of our code to us in their format. My understanding is that we're still waiting on a legal review and analysis of that from AFT, but this is it. This is it. I got it in paper form and had someone in my office put it into a binder so it was a little bit more manageable. It appears to me, I have no idea how many pages it is. It appears to be slightly more than an entire ream of paper, front and back. This is just our existing code put into American Legal's preferred format. Again, we're waiting on their initial legal assessment. Codification is going to be a big project for us. Some of my other assessments, kind of coming into City Hall, you know, I didn't know any of the staff members. The executive side of the city was being run by a 7-member temporary transition team, a management team that was comprised of the former mayor and some key staff members who have been providing transitional services. I've had the opportunity to work with Rick, to interact with Jody a little bit, to interact with Ann a little bit. The other thing that Sturgis has going for it is it has really qualified and competent and dedicated staff members. And in my assessment, again, it's only my opinion, I think you have really good employees in Rick, Jody, and you know, all of the public works aspects, and in addition to the planning and zoning undertaken by, you know, of all the people who were really kind of responsible for keeping the water going, the streets going, the garbage going during this transition, it was certainly Rick. And I think he deserves a lot of praise and a lot of credit. He is, in my assessment, a dedicated public servant, doing the best he can and really providing good quality services for the city. Again, law enforcement, a critical function. That is not part of my engagement with you, but I've had the opportunity to interact with Jody, to visit with Aaron a little bit about it. Law enforcement, good status of that in Sturgis. Again, staff, and once Aaron and Kevin were on board, along with their leadership, have been doing a great job of ensuring that essential quality municipal services, the real reason that the municipality exists in the first place, have continued to provide those benefits and services to the residents of Sturgis. In addition to, you know, I do believe the future's bright. I will put in a word of praise for at least the limited experience that I've had so far working with this council. I know there's a lot of new members. I know there's some older members with, I should say, more experienced members that have been on a little bit longer. It's been a pleasure working with you all. I think we have a dedicated and involved city council, and it's been a pleasure to begin to get to know some of you, to work with you a little bit more. You know, there's a lot of things that, we have a lot of challenges facing us, but the best thing that we have going for us is that we have competent executive leadership in Kevin and Aaron. And again, in my assessment, a really good council and a good staff. And so we're ready to continue doing the hard work and moving forward onto some of the bigger projects. The budget is a big one. It's not my thing. You know, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not an accounting guy. This is why I went to law school. A lot of it's above my head. This is where Aaron and Kevin are really dedicating a lot of their time to figuring out. Again, this is not new information. You already know this. There was a significant amount of time that we were without a finance officer. Reconciliation of checkbooks hadn't occurred in a long time. That process is ongoing. You know, it's interesting. It's been interesting for me kind of just as an observer of Kevin and Aaron's dynamic, where Kevin is, wanting to see faster progress on projects, especially the budget, and getting an understanding of our financial situation. I certainly understand that. Erin's certainly very competent in my estimation and working in that. And Erin's response sometimes is, Captain, I'm giving her all she's got. We've got a small staff, we've got a big project ahead of us, but progress is being made, and Erin and Kevin are on that. Some of the other pressing issues that I've identified and I've visited with Kevin and Erin a little bit about, one is the rally. We are going to need to have an understanding of what we are doing with the rally, how and whether the city should be managing that. That is going to be a big project for us moving forward. There are issues with some of the sponsorship agreements that we are going to need to discuss and remedy, and I think that the citizens and the council are going to need to spend a lot of time focused on the rally. For now, it is business as usual. We're carrying forward. We're going to get through this rally. It's consuming a lot of staff bandwidth at the moment, but we're getting through it. It's going to be a great one. Everything's going to go off with a hitch, and it's likely that there's going to be some changes coming down at some point in the future with the benefit of public and council involvement and some significant discussion. The other one I already mentioned was the recodification. This is a massive project. It's not something that I've even had the opportunity to crack into yet. This, we've already created, this council has already created a city ordinance committee of council members, of members of the public, that we're going to be looking at these, trying to focus on the recodification, not just getting things recodified, but taking the opportunity of the change of form of government and otherwise to revisit all of the ordinances in the city of Sturgis. That's going to be a significant project. The other project that's been identified and already discussed before is the comprehensive plan. Also going to be a significant project with a significant amount of council and public input. That's coming up. As I said, these are major undertakings. They're going to require a tremendous amount of effort. And for my part, I think that we've kind of come to somewhat of a natural fork in the road. I do not know that it's possible for me to spearhead or to have significant involvement in all of those projects while also continuing to maintain my practice. I don't know what that means, but it is going, if this is something that you want me to be involved in, this is something that means a lot to me. You all know that I served a 3-year term on the Spearfish City Council before I decided to go to law school. This was close to 15 years ago now, I think. That process of public service in the same chairs that you all are sitting in sparked an interest in municipal law for me. That's what made me decide to go to law school. I wrote law review articles on municipal law when I was there. I came back and I was engaged as a city attorney in Spearfish for several years after that. When I decided to leave that position, I moved to Sturgis. I joined the team at Nelson Law and continued my practice in a different way. But this is a critical turning point, pivot point for the city of Sturgis. It isn't just business as usual continuing to run this government forward. There are significant changes, structural changes that are going to need to occur that you are going to need competent legal services on. I'm not sure that I can provide those to you with the time limits that I have available with the rest of my practice. Whether that looks like engaging a full-time city attorney to help from there, or whether that means engaging with me in a different kind of capacity, that's something that we can discuss. But if the expectation is that I'm going to work on codification in addition to the comprehensive plan, in addition to some of the rally issues, something is going to have to change. So those are discussions that we'll probably be having. In the meantime, I think, other than the AFT matter that's consumed a significant amount of my bandwidth, and the Kenny Price matter that's consumed a significant amount of my bandwidth, that's what I have to share with you at this meeting, at this point. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we'll move on to the rest of the agenda, and I'll be back in front of you to talk about those two matters.
Quickly, Eric, I want to go back when you initially were talking about the recodification of and you had said that we received it, but we were waiting on their review of it. You referred to waiting on AFT's review. I assume you meant American Legal's.
If that's what I said, then that was a mistake. and
I'm
I
sure that's what
apologize.
you meant. I just wanted to
I've got AFT on the brain right now. What I mean is American legal. Thank you for the clarification. That has to do with American legal, not AFT.
Thank you, Eric. Is there any other questions or comments at this point? Eric, do you have anything more to add?
Not at this time.
Again, thank you. Continuing on to the mayor's report, item 7.1 through 7.14. 15, is there another page yet? 15 primarily involves adding volunteers to our work comp list and rally hires. I mean, we've got some other pieces in there. Does anybody have a question or a comment on the report? Thank you. Item 8 is consideration of the consent agenda. There's only one item on the consent agenda, so there's no need to ask to consider items separately if need be. Consent agenda is generally approved in its entirety unless a member of council or the public wishes to have an item removed for separate consideration. The only item on the consent agenda tonight is approval of the minutes from our July 7th meeting. Is there someone willing to motion the approval of the consent calendar?
I'll move.
Second.
We got a first by Mark, a second by Alex to approve the consent calendar in its entirety, one item. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That is carried. Item 9.1 is approval of the claims. Does anybody have questions or need clarification on any of the items in the claims? Anybody from the public have questions or wish for clarification on the claims this meeting? Hearing none, is someone willing to motion approval of the claims? I'll move to approve. We got a first by Terry. Second. Who seconded? I didn't. Mark? Or, excuse me. Jim? Those in favor of the approval of the claims indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That brings us to public hearings. First item on the public hearings list is item 10.1, consideration to approve SEL for the Knuckle Saloon for the 2025 Sturgis Motorcycle Rally 8.1 to 8.9.
Good evening, everyone. I have several SELs that for your consideration tonight to approve. The first one is the Knuckle Saloon during the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. They would like to set up for 9 days, and I believe they will be in the parking lot at Lynn's County Market.
Is this new for them? I think they've done this before.
I think they did it before, too.
Yeah, they did. A long time ago, they had a satellite like bar in that area.
Any questions from council?
I'd move to approve.
First by Nick to approve the consent, or excuse me, the SEL for Knuckle Saloon.
Second.
Alex brought that up. Second by Alex. First by Nick, second by Alex to approve item 10.1 SEL for Knuckle Saloon for the 2025 rally. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 10.2 is another SEL. This time it's for One-Eyed Jack Saloon for Music on Main, 7/23 and 8/13. Two nights at Music on Main for One-Eyed Jack Saloon.
One-Eyed Jacks is new to this, so they are going to be taking on 2 nights for Music on Main, and they're just asking you to consider letting them do the SEL for those 2 evenings.
We do SEL on each night of Music on Main, so that's nothing new.
Nope.
Someone willing to motion the SEL for One-Eyed Jacks?
I will. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
We got a first by Alex, a second by Ruth to approve item 10.2, the SEL for One-Eyed Jacks at 2 Music on Mains. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 10.3, yet another SEL, this time Loud American Roadhouse for the annual Lincoln Day Dinner on September 6th at the Sturgis Armory.
Same thing. They've done this several years in a row. I know they're just asking for the SEL for that evening of the annual Lincoln Day dinner, September 6th at the Sturgis Armory. I feel like I'm repeating you, Kevin.
That's a,
Second.
we got a first by Terry, a second by Mark to approve the SEL for Loud American at the Lincoln Day Dinner. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion is carried unanimously. Item 10.4, SEL for Loud American Roadhouse for the Sturgis Mustang Rally, August 26th through 31st.
Yes, they're requesting for 4 days for the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. And I believe they will be set up out at the Thunderdome out on Highway 34. So they are requesting you to consider their SEL for the Sturgis Mustang Rally.
I think everybody's pretty familiar with the longstanding success of the Mustang Rally and the separate group that promotes that.
Motion to approve the SEL for the Sturgis Mustang Rally. I'll second.
We've got a first by Alex, a second by Nick to approve the SEL for Loud American for the Sturgis Mustang Rally. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 10.5 is request to approve retail on-sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm license for Elizabeth Vodka. Did I pronounce her name properly?
I believe.
Help me out. Very good.
Elizabeth has filled out an application for the malt beverage license for 825 14th Street. I believe it used to be Nature's something, yes. She now has Rocket Away Crystals and Gifts, and she would just like to have a malt beverage license in case she decides to do any kind of little events or anything out there, I believe. She is here if you have any questions for her.
I guess I'd like to hear what she has planned for out there, but my first question for you, Robin, is we've checked all the boxes. Property taxes are paid, all those sorts of things.
Yes, sorry, I did check that. I do have her payments for both the state and for the city. I have checked on the property taxes, and those are current as well.
Very good. Elizabeth, would you share with us what you have planned for that?
Well, I have a rock and crystal business.
You want to come on up?
I purchased the building to open my rock and crystal business. I'm expanding. I have a shop in Rapid City. And I have the plans of doing like sip and shop or ladies' night or bringing speakers in for different things. And that's why I wanted to be on the safe side of having a license from asking about what's required to be able to serve like wine. But I will likely carry like South Dakota wines. I have coolers that were left there. And beer, probably, for rally.
Yeah, thank you. Jim?
Do we have a limit as to how many of these
Jim, we don't have a limit on the number of beer licenses in the city of Sturgis. That's been actioned by the council and some years ago that they removed the limit.
So this is not taking over for somebody else. This is an additional. Okay.
This is a new license.
Yep. I had somebody ask that question, so there's the answer.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to say thank you for being proactive, and with that, I would motion to approve.
Second.
Jim, I heard Mark talk first. So we got a first by Tony.
Doesn't matter.
A second by Mark to approve the item 10.5, the retail on-off sale malt beverage license for Elizabeth Vodicka.
Quick,
Vodicka.
Quickly.
I did it twice.
Rick, did you have some?
we just need to verify the building and the use from the building inspector on the occupancies. We've looked at that building recently in another venture, and depending on what areas are gonna be used and how they're gonna be used, there may be some updates that need to be made.
Very good. We've got a motion that had a first and a second on the floor.
Does any of that need to be in the motion?
I think we follow our building codes all along.
I have not seen that that's been, I mean, that she has applied for that. I mean, I just wanted to make her aware, but she got out of here.
She
so
left
She
her-
left the room.
We'll get a hold of her.
So,
I have-
Eric, do you recommend we add that to the motion?
Contingent.
Mayor, this is the only knowledge I have of it. I'm not entirely sure what processes the city's gone through as far as making sure that all the code requirements are there. My temptation is to hold it off to the next meeting. I don't know if that's possible. The council can approve the license, in my opinion, contingent on Public Works doing their final approvals that the structure meets all requirements of the code.
Would it be better to phrase that as receiving a certificate of occupancy?
That would be fine.
Are you guys willing to amend your motion to include the,
Excuse me, is that, Rick, is that your understanding that that's what's required?
Yes.
you're willing to amend your motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so motion has been amended to approve the request for approval of retail malt beverage license and tie it to a certificate of occupancy.
That is correct.
Pending the issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
Any further discussion?
No, but if the, would you?
I have her
Contact her.
contact information. I'll share it with
Thank
Rick.
you.
Okay, we'll call for the vote. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion is carried. And 10.5 is the end of our public hearings. On to reports. 11.1, consideration of use of city property for the United Way Month of Caring kickoff at Harley-Davidson Rally Point.
The United Way has reached out about using just a small portion of Rally Point on September 11th for their kickoff, carrying kickoff for the United Way month. They have used this in the past. They use a very small portion. They do, I believe they do a little presentation for their participants, and that's about it. They just would like to use it. They have also requested, because they are a nonprofit, to waive the $250 fee for Rally Point.
Thank you, Robin. Any questions from council about this request at Rally Point?
Move to approve.
We got a first by Jesse to approve,
No second.
a second by Mark. Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. 11.2, request for a consumption permit for the 2025 Sturgis Motorcycle Rally at City Hall.
City staff, we do have several events that take place here at City Hall during the rally. So we would like to ask for your consideration to approve this consumption permit for all of City Hall, which would include the library, the balcony upstairs, the VIP Hospitality Village. They're going to have several socials and a reception. So we would like to give away some beer, I believe, maybe, I can't remember if there's wine, but it's mainly beer, just at our events right here at City Hall. So it'd be for the entirety of the rally from August 1st through the 10th is what we're asking.
Questions from council?
I move to approve.
We got a first by Jim. I didn't hear who.
I'll second.
Nick seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. 11.3 is consideration to approve SEL for the Oasis Bar and Fireside Lounge for serving while events and promotions are held at Harley-Davidson Rally Point during the 85th Annual Motorcycle Rally, 1st through 9th.
We received a special event license application from the Oasis to serve beer and I think it's liquor, also for their liquor license over at Rally Point for the nights that we have bands set up. So this is for August 1st through the 9th. So they would just like us to consider that. And I do have the money for it already.
Nice. That's a process that we went through an RFP a number of years, a couple of years ago.
Rod's done it several times.
Several times.
Yep, so he's very familiar with that process over there.
Got a first by Terry,
Second.
second by Mark to approve the SEL for Oasis Bar and Fireside Lounge at Rally Point. Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no.
Mayor, I'm gonna abstain from this one, please.
Very good. That means that we had a vote of 7 with 1 abstention. 11.4 is consideration to approve SEL for Gas Monkey Sturgis for the Indian Motorcycle Block Party, August 3rd.
Gas Monkey has sent us an application for a special event license for the Indian Motorcycle Block Party, which will take place on Sunday, August 3rd. They have assured me they will have a roped off area, so it'll be a very specific beer garden type area. They will have some security out there to check IDs. They'll be giving away some of their own beer, I believe, at that event. And I believe I think somebody's here from Gas Monkey questions, but they're just asking for that SEL for the one day on the 3rd of August for that event.
Very good. For clarification, by block party, they're holding this to private property, not
Yes, I'm
using
sorry,
the
they
street.
did not ask for any kind of road closure or anything, so they will be staying on their property out at the Indian Motorcycle. Yep.
Very good. Looks like we've got a member of the public that'd like to make a comment about this. Tia, would you? Will you state your name, please?
Tia Hartwell. I have a problem with that because they're not abiding by the rules. The last Camaro rally, they didn't have their enough bathrooms set up. They didn't have their boundaries set up around their bar. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Can we address that from the public safety and building code side?
I believe what Tia's referring to was the recent Trans Am takeover events that they had. Wasn't the Camaro rally. Some of those items we're working through. Some of those items are requirements now. Some of them are no longer requirements.
What's requirement and what's not?
I included you on an email last week on what was specifically required and what was not. So as of right now, they were not in violation of anything. We didn't at that time determine what their occupancy load was. They have an occupancy load for their permanent structure, their building. They use some of the outside areas. That has not been determined yet, what that occupancy load is. We were waiting for some clarification from our legal staff as to how to determine that. We received that today, so moving forward, we'll have that information, and it will be applied the same for them as it's applied for Tia at her location at 901 Main.
And that occupancy load leads to the required number of restrooms.
Of restrooms, right, is based on what your occupancy load is. And
They're operating right now and don't have enough restrooms.
Just for clarification, that would be the entire lot. is what your certificate of occupancy will be based on.
Okay, so they're using the entire lot, correct?
I haven't been down there, I don't know, I can't
Can I
confirm.
clarify something? This is,
And that's a
this,
separate matter, I think, from what's before us today is the SEL.
yeah, because today I'm only asking for the SEL for the actual Indian Motorcycle Block Party. So that would actually take place up at Indian Motorcycle, not down at Gas Monkey.
And you can see on the map, they have their area, but this is the area that they intend to use. We would have to check that too, based on that square footage, and determine what their requirements are, whether they have enough.
When is that gonna happen? You did mine before my bar's even open.
We did that based on the information that you provided, that you sent in. This we're just seeing tonight. We haven't, it hasn't came over to us yet. It'll be done prior to the event.
Okay.
And they'll know what they have to have. I don't know, I mean, I have no idea what they have for restroom facilities in their building, but we'll check that out.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Tia. Any further questions about the SEL for Gas Monkey Indian Motorcycle Block Party? Somebody willing to motion?
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, first by Nick,
Second.
second by Alex. Any further discussion on the matter? Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 11.5 is another SEL for Iron Horse Saloon for the Steel Pony Campground, 8/1 through 8/10.
Yes, the Iron Horse has submitted a special events license for an SEL out at the campground, the Steel Pony Campground. They would run out there from 8/1 to 8/10. They do have a liquor license, so this would fall under their liquor license, and it would just be out there at the Steel Pony in their specific, they had a map, so they'll have a contained serving area out there.
Thank you, Robin. Just for clarification, the Steel Pony Campground is within the city limits. I had some residents ask me whether or not that was part of the city limits. It certainly is.
Okay.
Any questions or concerns from council?
Is that, I know this is, I guess this would probably be for Eric. Is there, can you do that? I mean, can I have a liquor license for this location and get an SEL for multiple different locations and apply my liquor license?
That's,
Is that?
Eric.
My understanding of South Dakota state law is that on-sale licenses can apply for and receive special event licenses that allow for the on-sale holder to host a special event on otherwise unlicensed property with the city council's approval. Yes, that's managed by state law, Department of Revenue. My understanding is that all the requirements have been satisfied here.
I just didn't want us to get sideways with something else.
There are plenty of requirements originating from state law about how those alcoholic beverages need to be transported. All the laws apply to that. My understanding is that those have all been checked.
Any further questions, concerns? Someone willing to motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Got a first by Mark, a second by Ruth to approve the SEL for Iron Horse Saloon at Steel Pony Campground. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no.
No.
That item carried 7-1.
Thank you.
11.6, consideration to approve resolution 2025-32 concerning AFTE's demand for payment in the amount of $501,694. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Mayor. As I advised the council at our last meeting, the city received the letter that is in your packet from AFTE. It was dated July 3rd. My understanding is that we got this, it was the day before the 4th of July, we came back for the meeting, there wasn't any time to review and analyze this or to get it on the agenda for action, so I told you it would be on this agenda. And in the meantime, you know, so you all know, I know that some of you were surprised by this. I know the mayor was certainly surprised by it. I apologize for that. I was trying to move quickly based on the time-sensitive nature of this matter. And again, I'm an independent contractor. I report to the city council. I wasn't taking direction from anyone on this. Almost every single aspect is my work product. It originated with me. As you know, as I've already advised you at previous meetings, one of the first tasks I was assigned in my role as city attorney was helping staff and helping the council understand the city's relationship with AFT. It's a contractual relationship that was entered into in May of 2024, following the referendum on a previous agreement that was entered into in February 2024. I don't have any connection with AFT. I've never met any of its principals. I'm not a racer. This was my first real introduction into this, other than as mostly an observer in the processes of the first contract and its referendum. So I was tasked by the mayor and the city administrator with reading that contract, offering my interpretation, offering my legal advice, and assisting in the process of helping this council and the mayor and city administrator understand the nature of the relationship with AFT. The origin of that relationship with AFT did not come from any of the members, to my knowledge, who are up on the dais there. It certainly didn't come from me. This was from a former administration, and we are dealing with it now. We have had several meetings with representatives from AFT, both in person and teleconference. I've participated in all but one of those with the goal of trying to understand what the relationship is, trying to understand what the contractual relationship is, and to understand the disputes that we have, and just questions being asked of the same questions that you've all been asking and the citizens have been asking. What was this venture? Did it make money? Did it lose money? Do we have the final reconciliation? So I've been helping to staff those matters since middle of January. Ultimately, again, there's plenty of reports in the public packets on this. The mayor put together a detailed report with my assistance on all the communications with AFT and where we are. But the main focus for today is this letter that we received from AFT. Essentially, AFT's position is that the city owes $501,694.04, which is the remaining deficit from the 2024 Spirit of Sturgis TT. AFT's position is that the city's failed to uphold its contractual obligations to offset that deficit by paying their invoice. They also reference the city council's decision to terminate the 2025 event that was intended to be held downtown. It was mentioned earlier at this meeting that the council accommodated some sort of racing at the fairgrounds property. I do not believe that actually happened. That was news to me. The council has never taken any action to allow AFT or anyone else to race at the fairgrounds property, if that's the implication. We have a demand from AFT. This is sent pursuant to the terms of the contract requiring notice. AFT believes us to be in breach by failing to pay this invoice. And I did what I told you I was going to do, which was bring this decision in front of the city council for its decision on what to do with the demand. I drafted this resolution based on my experience and my participation in discussions with AFT. I have been working, just to zoom out and step back for a second, you will recall that when you engaged with me as your city attorney, that my representation of the city does not include any criminal law matters or anything having to do with the Sturgis Police Department. Our firm does a significant amount of criminal practice in and around Sturgis with involvement with the Sturgis Police Department. I did not want any conflicts of interest or the appearance of any conflicts of interest. And so my engagement with the city specifically excluded any law enforcement matters or anything having to do with the Sturgis Police Department. I reached out to a gentleman, an attorney in Rapid City named Mike Wheeler. It was one of my first acts before I engaged. Mr. Wheeler has been the city attorney for the city of Somerset since I believe about 2010. I've had a couple of involvements with Mr. Wheeler. We've been involved as opposing counsel in different cases. I know who he is from his work as, and I reached out to him to see if he would be willing to act as conflict counsel to handle the criminal law matters and anything having to do with the Sturgis Police Department as part of his representation, since I was conflicted out from that. Mike was very generous to agree to that. He's an experienced municipal lawyer, and he's been working very close with Jody on handling any police department matters that I am unable to handle because of my conflict of interest that's imputed to our entire firm. When this AFT situation came up, I reached out to Mike. In addition to being municipal counsel for the city of Somerset, that's one of his clients, but he's also an experienced litigator at a large firm down in Rapid City. He has been counseling me and assisting me to understand the AFT contract and the city's relationship with AFT. I've been working really closely with Mr. Wheeler to help with this project. It was clear to me that if the city ended up in litigation with AFT over this, as it's been threatened, that that's not something that I would be able to handle. Again, that's not part of my practice, doing massive corporate litigation, either in state or in federal court. My firm doesn't have the ability to do those things. That's why I told you from the get-go that if we ended up with major litigation on any issues, that I was likely to try to facilitate the engagement with outside counsel, with the council's approval, to handle those matters. Again, you're paying me an hourly rate for the time that I bill you in 6-minute increments. And so this isn't costing the city any more money, whether I was doing it or whether someone else is doing it. It's a wash. I've tried to negotiate the best possible rates I can to get the city the rates at outside counsel as I have, but my main goal is not doing everything. I'm not capable of doing everything. I'm just one person with another practice. And so if there is another attorney with more experience who can better represent the city, that is part of my role as general counsel for you, is to facilitate that. Quite a common thing when you're dealing with general counsel and even when you're dealing with city attorneys. One staff member or two staff members don't have the team of associates, don't have the team of paralegals to handle long, complex, drawn-out commercial litigation. That's why I engaged with Mike Wheeler. I prepared this resolution. I actually didn't communicate with any of you about it, not as a group, not individually, not with the mayor, not with the city administrator. Again, I'm an independent contractor. I don't report to Aaron and Kevin, I report to you all. This is my work product. I stand behind it. I'm happy to explain any of it or attempt to justify it to you. I'm happy to change any of it that you would like in whatever manner the council would like. What I told you I was going to do in this engagement was bring these kinds of decisions to the entity that is responsible for approving and considering them, and that is the city council. Here is my thinking on this. I've read the contract. Our other legal counsel has reviewed the contract. There are concerns. In my opinion, it is not drafted as clearly as it could be. The relationship between the parties is not as clear as it is not crystal clear in my assessment. There are issues that I have concerns about that I'm not going to get into here tonight, but I have concerns with the city paying that full invoice in the way that it's been invoiced to us. Based on my interpretation of the contract, I don't reach the same conclusions that AFT reaches about who bears the risk for this event. Based on the language of the contract, reasonable people can disagree on that. I have my opinion, they have their opinion, that's where we're at. My recommendation to you is that we not pay that amount. I do not believe that we necessarily have the liability that AFT thinks that we have, and as the resolution indicates, even if we do, I do not believe we have received the financial information from AFT necessary to make the determination of the reasonableness of all the costs or whether we have the ability to pay some of the costs. Those are questions that are going to have to be determined at a future date. AFT, they've been excellent to work with. They did a great job. My understanding, I didn't have any involvement with it. I didn't participate in it. The 2004-24 race went off. They pulled it off. They sent us a bill. They sent us a profit and loss statement. They sent us a somewhat detailed transaction detail of some of their costs. But as we were going through this, as a staff, I have questions about some of those costs. We attempted to engage with AFT on that. We got some information, in my view, not all of the information that we need necessary to make a decision on this. We've been working with AFT very closely. I've had communications with their executives. I've had communications with their legal counsel. We're handling this in a professional manner. We have some disagreements about what the contract says, what AFT's responsibilities are, what the City of Sturgis's responsibilities are. AFT is threatening that if we don't pay this entire bill, that they're going to send it to litigation. But as they indicated in their letter, they remain open to engaging in potential settlement discussions on how to resolve this dispute. We've spent hours and hours and hours talking with AFT about ways to potentially settle this matter, and we do not have a resolution at this point. You will read in AFT's letter this invitation. AFTE remains willing to engage in good faith settlement discussions regarding the city's payment obligations and potential future cooperation, including but not limited to terms related to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile track. That's what's listed in AFT's letter. This was not my idea to bring that into the resolution. That AFT wants to talk about the Sturgis half-mile track. It was brought up in previous meetings. We were told, we're happy to consider, I'm happy to bring any proposal that you have to the city council. I'm not the decision maker on this. The mayor is not the decision maker on this. The city administrator is not the decision maker on this. I know that the mayor has been communicating with the council closely on some of these matters. We've discussed some of these matters in executive session. We told them that if they had a proposal to make regarding the half-mile track and the fairgrounds, that we asked them to make it and we would bring it to you. I told you in a previous meeting, AFT sent an email indicating that their proposal was to release the city from the second-year obligations of the co-host agreement and to pursue a long-term lease of the fairgrounds property for racing purposes. My response to AFT was, I am happy to bring that proposal to the council. I anticipate, before we do that the council is going to have questions on what does long-term mean and what kind of lease payment are we talking about. Those are questions that I feel like if you have a proposal, that AFT has a proposal, they should make it, and that would help the council make their decision. We did not receive a proposal that I felt we were prepared to take action on. In the meantime, if the finance officer is not clear of whether she should put this bill on the bill list, my advice to her is that it's not ready to go on until we get additional information. AFT has expressed a willingness, despite their contrary view of what the contract says to what my view of what the contract says is, to continue to engage in good faith settlement discussions regarding payment obligations and other terms. I'm certainly happy to do anything the council would like me to do to continue those negotiations if there's any desire on behalf of the council to do that. We're to the point where we need a little bit of direction from this council on what to do, to include the payment of this invoice and what the scope of any future negotiations with AFT, if any, are going to look like. The way that I proposed it, I mentioned it to you earlier, that one of the things that I am hoping to bring to the city of Sturgis through my engagement is a better definition of the separation of powers between the executive branch of this government and the legislative branch of this government. In my opinion, the negotiation of a contract or the settlement of a legal dispute, at least in its early stages, is an executive function. That is why I chose to draft the resolution in the way I did, where the city council would give the mayor and his designees authority to continue discussing with AFT. And as I wrote, that would include but not be limited to terms related to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile track. I don't know what those potential terms would be. Again, it wasn't my idea. It was AFT's in the letter. And then my recommendation was for the mayor and his designees to engage in those negotiations and to report back to the council and present the terms of any tentative agreement to the Sturgis Council, the Sturgis City Council, for its consideration, which is where the decision belongs. I've heard, again, I haven't been around to have communications with any of you about this. I've heard through the grapevine that there's some concerns about the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile racetrack being looped into negotiations with AFT. I certainly understand those concerns. Again, that idea didn't originate with me, it originated with AFT. If the council wants to completely remove that as part of negotiations, I await your direction.
So that's my concern. That is off the table as far as I'm concerned. We need to negotiate that 501,000 or what we had here, but we're not negotiating anything to do with the fairgrounds. When this bill is settled, then they can come to us and we can talk about a half mile or fairgrounds, but I wouldn't support this if the fairgrounds are part of any negotiation.
And I have to agree with Mark on that, 100%.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I would add to that is they use the word good faith, and I can't imagine anyone who sat in this room or listened to the radio or any of the other meetings that they had and told us that we would have no cost related to that race. And then to come here and dare to say we're not acting in good faith, you know, I don't swear, but I'd like to start with this because this is amazing. That this company, they've never been here. They promised to be here to talk to us about this race. Nobody's ever come, and tornadoes, hurricanes notwithstanding, we've never had anybody come to the council since they stood there and said clearly that there was no cost. I think that it's a very simple answer from my point of view. I do believe that based on the 2-year contract, we probably would have had at least half of the cost of it after 2 years, but considering the bad faith and the way that they did everything, I don't want anything to do with them. And when it comes to the fairgrounds, I would agree here. That should be off the table, absolutely. I don't know if we need a motion on that or what we need to do, but I think it's easy to say.
Well, the motion would include language changes to the resolution as it was presented.
I agree with, I don't have any problem with the resolution as long as we stop with right after cooperation, including, but not limited beyond that, would be off that resolution is where I would stop that. I have thoughts like Jim on a potential future cooperation, but that can be included, but not the fairgrounds. We're not negotiating that.
On the top page of 4.
Yep, top 4, paragraph 9, if that's how you'd say that.
Mark, the way I would, considering what they have done, why would we have any indication that we would want to do business with them at any time?
I had that thought originally, but I can live with potential future cooperation because I know what I think of that. I can leave that in. It's that next sentence that Rick's got highlighted. That with that gone, I can support the resolution. Beyond that, I can't. If that makes sense.
Is that a motion, Mark?
That would be a motion.
Excuse me. There is a motion on the table. I was just going to ask for the purposes of clarity and in revising the resolution, if there are any other discussion points or potential changes to this resolution, perhaps we could hold off on a motion until we have that all figured out, just to make the direction clearer and to make the procedure a little cleaner.
But I can withdraw that motion if you want, if that allows. Is that what you want to do?
If that's okay with
Yep,
you.
that's fine with me.
Thank you, Mark. I want to address just one other point that I made the mistake of opening up Facebook today and seeing a little bit of chatter on, again, some of the problems I created in this resolution. And one of the suggestions was that the entire council needs to be involved in the discussions and the negotiations with AFT. I certainly understand that motivation. Again, I've told you repeatedly, and I'll tell you again, the council decision. Why, therefore, should not the entire city council be involved in the negotiations with AFT? In my view, there's a couple reasons. One, unless we're going to do it as a public meeting, then It can't happen. Second, this is not the way that contracts or proposals are negotiated. In my, again, going back to kind of my assessments of where Sturgis has been and where it's going, is that there has been, again, only my opinion, take it or leave it. Sturgis has gone a little bit towards in the past of resolving some of these issues, making some decisions as an enormous committee. I do not think that is a sound practice. I do think it is important to restore the separation of powers between the executive and the legislative. So it is not possible for the entire council to engage in negotiations with AFT unless you do it in a public meeting. I would not recommend that. That is not a good course of business. I do not think that is going to be productive. It needs to be a small group. So that is why I drafted it in the way that I did. If the council would like to have one or more representatives on any committee that negotiates with AFT, if that is what the council's direction is, I have absolutely no concerns with that. My suggestion would that it be either the council president or vice president. I'm open to suggestions.
So I don't have any problem with mayor and designee continuing to engage in this. I'm just trying to set the parameters that the fairgrounds are not part of any negotiation, whoever Kevin or whoever negotiates, if that makes sense. I don't want to be in on that, but when they make an agreement, it's going to have to come back to us for clarification anyway, right?
Correct.
So I will gladly step back. Kevin or you, whoever wants to negotiate that, that's fine. But I will not support any negotiations that involve the fairgrounds with AFT. Is that clear? Or that's my viewpoint?
Your viewpoint is clear to me.
Okay, thank you.
Are there, so what I'm hearing now based on this resolution so far is that if we want to go down to the last paragraph of the first page, it's stamped page 114 of 145 in the council packet. It's the paragraph that begins, "Be it further resolved that the mayor and his designees are authorized to continue to engage in good faith negotiations with AFTE regarding what AFTE believes to be the city's payment obligations and potential future cooperation." My understanding of, there hasn't been a motion made yet, but where the potential change for that might come from is payment obligations and potential future cooperation, but not including terms related to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile racetrack. That's my understanding of where we are right now. Again,
Yeah, can we remove that, or do we have to say does not? Can that just be off the table completely?
I think it's, if the council's direction is that the fairgrounds is off the table completely, we can end that sentence at potential future cooperation, and that would be the directive to the mayor, at least the understanding, if the council approves this resolution, that they do not want to consider any kind of proposal to do racing at the fairgrounds at this time.
That would be my recommendation, that ends right there at cooperation.
Are there any other matters that that any council members want to discuss or comment on before we approve this? Mayor, whether you want to open it up to public comment is your decision. Happy to stand by.
Let's get a first and a second, and then we'll open it up for discussion, proper procedurally.
I would move that, including but not limited to terms relating to the Sturgis Fairgrounds half-mile racetrack, be taken off there.
Let the rest of the document be approved.
I'm fine with the rest of it.
Under those pretense, and second by Jim. Is there any further discussion by the council?
Mr. Mayor, I'm the part. Maybe I'm a small town boy, but why don't they feel they have the right, the obligation to come and tell us that they lied to us, that they did all this public stuff, acted like friends, and then walked away and just never came back, sent us a bill when it's all said and done? Don't we have an obligation from these people? And why would we even think about doing business with them again based on that? These are people not acting in good faith. I think we should make a resolution that they're not welcome back in Sturgis at whatever point. That might be a little brash.
Yeah, the only thing that I can add to that is we certainly have disagreement on the legal interpretation, and, I mean, so some of the process, we need to work through to understand. I mean, I know I've stated repeatedly that, you know, the limited financial information they've provided is certainly not provided enough information to tell us whether or not every bill was our own bill, that all taxes were paid, that even some of the bills are, you know, every bill is legal for us to pay. I mean, it sure appears in the cloudy piece that's there that there might be additional items in there that were added that were maybe part of electioneering, if you will. And you know, we certainly, as a government board, can't engage in that sort of activity.
I'll just make a comment that, you know, you can't be in my business very long without coming to the conclusion that reasonable people can disagree on what a contract says. And my experience with AFT, again, we have differing opinions. I can only speak for myself. All of my interactions with representatives from AFT have been professional, have been respectful, and you know, on their side, they were negotiating this contract and dealing with people who aren't here anymore. And now we're picking it up, and we don't have all the historical detail. We don't have the benefit of some of the conversations that occurred. I'm not going to speak for AFT. I'm going to give them personally the benefit of the doubt, and just that we reached different conclusions, or maybe they were party to conversations that we weren't party to, that I wasn't party to. I don't know. All I can tell you is that all of my interactions with both their principals and with their legal counsel have been professional, have been respectful. You all had your own experiences. You're entitled to your opinions. I just wanted to add that.
Eric, I'd like to, you know, taking heat over this in Kevin's position, our position, that's part, comes with the job. I guess, to me, what it looks like is Kevin and Aaron are taking most of the heat on this thing. I really do think we need to have a couple city councils sit in on them negotiation meetings. I really do. There's no reason that just a couple people are taking the heat and are being accused of lying and everything else when, you know, I think we should have a couple of us city councilmen in there too.
If that's what the council would like to do, I am not going to voice any objection. My only objection is going to be the idea that the entire city council is going to participate in these discussions with AFT. We don't want to do that in a public session, and it is otherwise unmanageable. If the council would like to designate people in addition to the mayor and his designees to participate in any future discussions with AFT, I voiced no objection to that.
Okay, with that, we do have a motion and a second that doesn't include that, so we would need to.
What about, I just have a quick question. What about the item, like terms relating to the fairgrounds and half-mile track? That would be on page 3 of this resolution. Do we, or in the?
It appears in a few different places.
Do we want to remove that from this resolution too?
Excuse me.
Sorry, but.
There's only 2 pages to the resolution,
Sorry.
but you're talking page 3 of the
Yes.
packet. My recommendation would be no. The whereases are pulled directly from AFT's letter. I can't change as a historical fact the wording that AFT put in its letter and the offer that they made to us. Let me.
There's there, and then
The
there's.
where- the whereas refers to their contract or their proposal.
Which paragraph?
What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be 3. It says, but not limited to terms to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile racetrack. And then there's one further down, terms relating to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile racetrack. The city has continued to engage in good faith discussions with AFT regarding AFT believes the city's payment obligations and potential future cooperation, including but not limited to terms relating to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile racetrack.
Here's that. On the third paragraph down, whereas AFT further advised it remains willing to engage in good faith settlement discussions regarding what AFTE believes to be the city's payment obligations, quote, and potential future cooperation, including but not limited to terms related to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and Half Mile Track. I'm just quoting from their letter.
Okay.
It's a whereas. It doesn't provide any direction that that's something that the council's willing to engage in.
Well, I'm a simple man, so I
No.
just wanted to say if it's one thing, should all of it be out? But
It's a
okay.
completely appropriate comment and question, and I don't
Because if I
think
was
so.
an attorney, we wouldn't be in this mess right now. Thank you.
And regarding, and I just do want to, so that's the first one, that's paragraph 3 where it's referenced. Again, I'm pulling and quoting directly from AFT's letter. As I go down to the next one, it's true that questions about the Sturgis Fairgrounds and Half Mile Racetrack have come up in those discussions. They've been pretty short and pretty brief, and it was represented by one of the members who was speaking that if it was up to them, the Sturgis Half Mile Track wouldn't be negotiable under any terms at any price, but AFTE was advised that it wasn't up to the person who was saying that. It was up to the Spearfish City Council. So I don't have any concerns. Excuse me, the Sturgis City Council. I don't have any concerns with the way that it's in there right now.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
If the council would like to designate one or more, my suggestion would be members. I don't think it would be a bad idea to identify those members in the very last paragraph on the first page of the resolution that's bait stamped page 114.
List them as designees. Again, that would require us to either rescind or, remove the motion and create a new, or have it amended and agreed upon by the second.
And Eric, I just want to, I know we've discussed it already, just want to be very, very clear. This isn't giving this small group the ability to make the agreement. I mean, it has to be approved by council in open session.
Absolutely.
Whatever agreement may be discussed.
Anything that, with the negotiation process, there are, I'm trying to think of how to say this. A lot of time can be saved just with a small group answering certain questions with the knowledge and the background and the history that we have so far. This group, the mayor and his designees and any council members who are on it, have absolutely no authority to bind the city of Sturgis to any agreement. That would be discussed and would be acted on in open session in the event that any kind of term sheet or tentative agreement is proposed, that the council wants to direct me to work on drafting, whether it's a settlement agreement or a new agreement, that would have to come from this body.
The other thing that, maybe I'm wrong, we're overlooking is in another 10 days, this whole thing is mute because August 3rd, our 30 days is up anyway, right?
I have no idea if
Doesn't it tell us that 30 days, in less than 30 days, we have to do something on their deal or they're going to pursue it?
AFT indicated. No, it does. Let's read it. Pursuant to Section 20, city has 30 days from the receipt of this letter to cure such breach. The cure that they're demanding is the 501 and some change odd payment. If city fails to remit full payment of $501,694.04 within this cure period, AFTE will pursue all available legal remedies. And then it goes on from there. I can just tell you from my experience, demands, they're making a demand pursuant to the language of the contract. We have 30 days to cure. Do they waive that if it, doesn't happen? No, they can, AFT can elect to file suit anytime that they decide to, if that's what they decide to do. I have no indication that that's what they're going to do. Maybe if we can't accommodate them before the 30 days is up, then they won't have any more discussions and will elect to file suit. I don't have any knowledge about that. I don't have any control over that. Maybe if they think that a good faith negotiation negotiation might bear fruit, that they would delay on that. I don't know. The statute of limitations to sue on a breach of contract action in South Dakota is 6 years.
I'll just make a comment. That goes back to you a little bit, Jim. I don't think anybody here believes that they're even going to negotiate before the end of that 30 days, is my opinion. That this is a scare tactic. They intend, if we don't pay it at the end of that 30 days, they're going to sue us, and as far as I'm concerned, have at it. But to me, if that 30 days is up, then our negotiation has failed anyway, but maybe I'm looking at that wrong.
Negotiations may take some time if they ever happen, or it may be a very quick process. I can't tell you until we get into it.
So we have a motion and a second. I'll go ahead and repeat what the original motion was and who made it. Mark made the motion to approve the resolution as it was written, minus including but not limited to terms relating to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile racetrack. That was seconded by Jim.
Ask a question here. Is there somebody, I'll redo my motion for exact people on this if there's somebody that really wants to. I don't want to be a part of that. If there's somebody that really wants to be a part of that, let us know. Otherwise, I will trust Kevin and his designees to bring forward this. So speak now if you really want to be on it. Otherwise,
On this, I want them to face us and tell us what it is that they have been lying to us
I think you're
about.
dreaming there, but that's a side note. Sorry. So, do you want my motion to read? Is there anybody else that wants on that? Is that what we need to do?
Eric, you brought up president or vice president. Do you think that that's necessary, or?
To me, I just suggested it because they're council leadership positions. I don't have any opinion on who or who is not on this, who is engaging with AFTE.
The more people we get on this committee, the harder it is to get together to make any decisions too. So let's keep it as small as we can, or as compact as we can, if that's the word. But I'm willing to redo my motion if Jim wants on there. Is anybody else? I think that would be our limit of two, if somebody else wants on, but.
So I think, help me procedurally, Eric. We've got a couple of options here. We could have the original motion rescinded and a new motion could be created, or we could amend the motion which would take another first and a second, correct?
I think my preference would be if the maker of the motion wants to rescind it and offer a substitute motion, then that motion be seconded and that be acted on.
Okay, I will rescind my motion. Jim, you seconded it? Does that have to come off? I will anybody else want on that besides Jim? Are you do? So, is it gonna be just the three of you, or does Aaron get in on this? Does it matter?
That would be up to the mayor to decide who his
Okay.
designees are. I would
Okay.
imagine that Aaron Jordan would participate in some or all of those
So
discussions.
my motion just needs to include Jim and Tony on that then?
Correct.
Okay. My motion will be to take out the wording, let's see, I better start back here. Two of the mayor's designees would be Jim Thompson and Tony Dragons. And the wording on paragraph 9 would including but not limited to terms relating to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile racetrack be removed.
Very good, that's clear. Thank you, Mark. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a first by Mark, a second by Alex to include Jim Thompson and Tony Dargitz as designees in the resolution and to remove the language stating including but not limited to terms related to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile racetrack, with the rest of the document being left as it is. Is there any further discussion on this motion? We haven't got there yet. I'm going to open it up to the floor. Is there any input from the public at this point? Brandon?
Mr. Mayor, I just had a question for Mr. Davis. Close to the bottom of page 3 of 4 there, it says that we resolved that city financier shall not permit payment to AFT for any amount unless such payment. Doesn't that, if you agree not to pay it, doesn't that kind of preclude any negotiations? Or not?
Mayor,
Yes.
I can't speak for AFTE on whether they'll have any interest in negotiating if that payment isn't made. I don't know. We'll wait and see.
Please come up to the,
My name is Beth Bartlett, and I'm from Ward 3. And I just wanted to make a few comments. When the original contract was made, we know it was wrong. We all got rid of that, and then we are in the mess we are in now. Totally different city attorney that was drafting up the contract. I would just urge you guys to keep an open mind. We don't know, I mean, I don't believe that what we're being asked to pay for is legit. But there is negotiations able to be had, and I would just hope you keep your open ears, because it was all rush and crunch time for both sides. And perhaps AFT was not represented in the right way. There's a lot of different possibilities. So I would just like you guys to all just keep your ears really open and not be closed-minded, because we may want future endeavors with them. So I know we're all mad, because I'm mad too about this situation, but there could be future dealings with them and, in the future. We don't want to just judge AFT for AFT. There's other people that get involved, just like we vote in new mayors. There could be future endeavors with them. So let's not just cut them completely off at the cord. Thank you.
thank you, Beth. Does anyone else from the public wish to make a statement? Keith?
You're in trouble now, Eric.
I can handle it.
Keith Ball, Sturgis. My question is to Eric. I'd really like to know what items in the contract we have question about, and if they're so reasonable, why wouldn't they honor what you were saying about how they promised that we wouldn't have to pay a dime? So there must be some things in that contract that we should know about.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a lot of questions about the language of the contract and some of the legal implications of that. I'm not going to discuss those in a public session setting, and I'm sorry, it's not because I don't want to be transparent, but in the event that this ends up in litigation, we're not workshopping all of this stuff together as a council and a public. If we refer it to litigation, then it's going to go through the litigation process. Our commitment to transparency is well served if we end up in litigation if AFT sues us. This entire dispute, all of the contracts are public information. If there is litigation, that's all going to be out open in the public. All of the filings, all of the pleadings, all of the arguments are going to be available at the clerk's office or anyone with a computer. Anyone can go up to those hearings if that's where we end up. But my policy is I don't discuss my legal advice, my legal interpretations, except with the council in executive session. And I think it'll be most appropriate. The question was asked whether we could have this discussion in executive session. We could have. The decision was made to have it in open session because of the community interest in this, but I don't want to discuss my legal assessments, my legal advice. I certainly understand the request and the desire for that information. I do not think now would be the appropriate time to do that, respectfully.
So within executive session, the council will know what those elements are.
The council already has an understanding of some of my legal concerns with the contract, and there are others that will be developed in litigation by the city's litigation council if that's where we end up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Anyone else? Questions about this resolution?
Steve Anders. I just have one other small comment. When you go into negotiations, you take in people that already have a relationship with those people. I would suggest maybe in your designees, including Lance here, since he's already possibly has those connections, just because it's a lot harder to sit across from somebody that you have a relationship with and be friendly, so to speak, than somebody that's just brand new to the table. That's just my comment.
Good comment. Thank you, Steve. Anyone else from the public have a comment or question? Hearing none, call for the vote. Those in favor of the motion, first by Mark, second by, who is our second this second time? Jim?
I think
Alex was the second time around, to approve the resolution with the indication of designees being Jim Thompson and Tony Dargitz, and that we remove the language stating including but not limited to terms relating to the Sturgis Fairgrounds and half-mile racetrack. The rest of the document staying as it is. Those in favor of that motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no.
I'm going to abstain due to my company's due to the perceived conflict of interest because of my company's contract with AMA Pro Racing.
That motion is carried 7-1, or 7-0.
Thank you, Mayor. I will update the resolution with the language consistent with the council's action, and that will be presented to the mayor for his signature and for the finance officer to place the city seal and attest with her signature. That will be delivered to AFTE, and we will wait to see what kind of response, if any, we receive. And again, before I am done with this matter, I just wanted to say thank you for your efforts on this. I apologize again for the way that you were kind of blindsided with it. That was partly in nature to my own scheduling issues and the time-sensitive nature of this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Item 11.7 is consideration to approve the 2025 Tom's Tees Incorporated Retail Licensing Agreement. Lance?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is a one-year renewal of a merchandise, trademark, and content license agreement with Tom's Tees for a portion of the Heritage Mark collection. Staff's recommendation is that we proceed with approving the agreement.
Thank you. Any members of council have questions about the item being considered?
directed specifically where that money was going? We had that discussion earlier.
Royalties related to the heritage marks, yes, have been by the council designated for specific use.
What specific use? What are we talking? Is it going back into the coffers of the city?
I don't remember the exact designation breakdown, but I believe Sturgis Rally Charities is one component of that.
I believe that's how that's what the action was the last time that we acted on this item. It wasn't during the contract phase, it was during the reconciliation side of it.
Well, I disagree with 2 points. I don't agree with the Sturgis Rally, and I'd like nothing to go into that from my personal opinion. But second, I think that money that is raised should go back to the city, to the people that are paying the taxes to run this rally, and I think that's kind of important. I know we had this conversation before. Not everyone agrees, but that would be my wish.
So are you motioning that direction?
Nope, I'm just making a comment.
Very good.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
I'd like to have a comment on this, though. In working with San, it wasn't necessarily a one-year term. It was ending here in September. Part of San's justification for that, he does want to work with the city council maybe it's the Rallying Events Committee or a group of people to kind of reconsider what that partnership, that relationship looks like after this particular year. So he didn't really want to enter into a full year. He wanted the opportunity to get through the rally and this fall, start those negotiations. It seemed fair to me when I was working with San. Obviously, he's working with our current licensing and the things that we have involved in that here for 2025. But I did tell him that absolutely we'd be willing to at least listen to maybe what you would want to do. Doesn't mean that would be approved, but to have those discussions.
All right, we've got a motion to contract with Tom's Tea. Motion made by Mark, seconded by Ruth. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
No.
That item has carried 7-1. Item 11.8 is consideration to approve the 2025 exhibitor agreement with Patch Stop Roadshows LLC.
That's correct. This is a lease agreement for the Sturgis Liquor property, and it would run from July 22nd through the 12th of August. Staff's recommendation is that we approve and proceed with the mayor's signing.
And they've got a history of dislocation.
That's correct.
Is anyone willing to motion, or is there some questions that we need to answer?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a first by Mark, a second by Alex to approve the agreement with Patch Stop, the exhibitor agreement with Patch Stop Roadshows LLC. Location is at the Sturgis Liquor Store. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That motion is carried.
Thank you.
That brings us to item 12, executive session. Eric, you have requested executive session. Can you outline?
Thank you, Mayor. I did ask for a brief executive session this evening, or I anticipate it'll be brief. It'll be to discuss one matter, which is item number 13.2. And I would ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session to consult with legal counsel about proposed litigation pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2 sub 3.
I'd make a motion.
A second. Did you, maybe you said it, any action afterwards?
There will be requested action.
So we got a first by Mark to go into executive session, a second by, was that Nick?
Yeah.
And we will be returning to a final agenda item, so there will be action after executive session. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Okay, we're back from executive session. Is there a motion to return to regular session?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Got a first by Mark, a second by Nick to return to regular session. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
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 We're in regular session. Last item on our agenda tonight is item 13.2, authorization to commence litigation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm losing my voice this evening and I'm almost out of tea, so please forgive me. We've gone through this in open session numerous times. I'll give you just the basics of the situation. Again, this is one of the first tasks I was tasked with was just the situation with the city's historical lease, and now what became several years ago a lease with an option to purchase 2 parcels of real property owned by Kenny Price and by LLCs that he either, our understanding is that he owns or controls those. City entered into a contractual relationship with Mr. Price. It's been revised several times over the last 5-6 years, and ultimately we were operating off a lease with option to purchase, whereby the city was leasing those 2 properties for a combined total of $180,000 a year, and then had arrangements with certain rally sponsors with the city where the city would rent those properties to rally sponsors and generate a profit off those. There was a situation and a dispute with Mr. Price about the terms of that lease and the possibility of renegotiating it. We were trying to engage with Mr. Price in good faith on that as we were dealing with other issues. For whatever reasons, Mr. Price advised us that he was terminating the lease. Our understanding was that that lease was effective, termination was effective immediately. We had some issues with our sublessees, as you could imagine, that created some problems. I've been working through those with you. At the last council meeting, we resolved mutual settlement agreements and releases with Rumble On, Ride Now, and Rockford Fosgate. Ultimately, we decided to end the relationship with Rumble On, Ride Now, walk away from each other, and we accommodated, the city's rally department accommodated Rockford Fosgate at a new lease space and entered into a new agreement. Again, those are things that you've already approved. So our relationships with Rumble On is no longer. Our relationship with Rockford Fosgate is new, and what's left to do is to resolve our dispute with Mr. Price over that lease. I am requesting authorization to commence litigation. Again, going back to some of the things we've already talked about, this is not something that my firm is particularly capable of handling right now. It's not something that I have the bandwidth on. A commercial litigation attorney can do a much better job of representing the city's interests at the same cost as I can. The city's already authorized me to engage with attorney Jared Nooney at Nooney and Soleil firm down in Rapid City, experienced litigation firm. Been working through Mr. Nooney's office, trying to resolve the issues with Rockford Fosgate and Rumble On. We've been successful at that, and we are now prepared to commence litigation. We're not interested in a big, long, drawn-out fight. That is not the direction that I've received from the city council, but we are interested in receiving the city's $180,000 payment back. You will recall that we approved on the bill list. I don't remember if it was in January. I think at one of the January meetings, the bill list for that annual $180,000 lease payment that comes up every year. That was approved. Payment was about 2 weeks late. There was, some issues in the finance office that didn't allow that bill to get paid on time. Mr. Price had an objection to that, and our understanding is that that's the reason he canceled the lease. But he still did cash the check. We are no longer in possession of that building. We no longer have any leasehold interest. At least that's my legal assessment of the matter. It's likely that if we can't settle this, which would certainly be our goal, that it will end up in litigation. I don't have anything further to discuss with you about that in public session at this point. I will come back to you and advise you whether or not it looks like we're going to end up with a settlement or whether or not we're going to end up in litigation. And of course, any settlement agreement that we reach with Mr. Price would be subject to council approval. Happy to answer any questions.
I'll make a motion to proceed.
I'll second.
We got a first by Mark, a second by Terry to proceed with the litigation.
as referenced in the staff report against the parties referenced in the staff report.
Yes.
Very good. Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed, no. That motion carried unanimously. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Having no further action tonight, looking for a motion to adjourn. We got a first by Mark, a second by Jim to adjourn for this evening. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.